101 series, where we have broken up our main introductory topics, the things that we think are the most essential, fundamental to using the PagerDuty platform. And we've broken them into 4 smaller sessions in hopes that it allows you to join the sessions that make the most sense for wherever you are in your PagerDuty journey, and to ensure that if you have questions or if there are particular topics that are important to you that you're trying to set up right now, you can join us for those appropriate sessions. This really is a perfect session for anybody who is newer to the PagerDuty platform, who might want to learn some of those ins and outs of our best practices. I'll talk about setup and ensuring effective response processes for you and your teams throughout the next 4 days. So over the next 30 minutes, though, we are going to just establish some vocabulary and basic understanding of some of those communication elements that are part of the PagerDuty platform before I actually walk through the steps of responding to an incident. Now, at the end of today's session, we will look at the details of what the remaining 3 sessions cover in terms of topics. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat. I will try to check that periodically and respond to those questions as I can throughout the session, as well as at the end of our session when I try to leave a few minutes for Q&A. Now, a quick introduction. My name is Camden Louie. I'm a senior technical trainer with our PagerDuty University team. I am based in our San Francisco office, as I mentioned a moment ago, and would love to meet up with any of you, to host any of you in our office if you come through the area. Now, PagerDuty University, if you are not familiar with our team already, we are the customer education team. So we love to engage with our customers to make sure that we are providing the right kinds of resources to help you use the PagerDuty platform to up-level your PagerDuty usage to ensure that you're using all of the capabilities that are available to you. Now, with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn off my camera. You don't need to pay attention to me for this session. We are going to begin with a PagerDuty overview to set the stage. So, as we're starting today, and with this part 1 of our 4-part series, I really wanted to establish understanding from the ground up. And the first question that many people have is, what is PagerDuty and how does it even work? So to begin with, in a nutshell, we like to say that PagerDuty is an operations cloud platform, and we are trying to make sure that the right resources, meaning the right responders, the right people, are identified and immediately assigned to critical incidents. The goal for many of our teams is to reduce things like mean time to resolution and to improve operational reliability. So as we look at this visual from left to right, PagerDuty can ingest hundreds of alerts and events from our various tools, ticketing systems. And as PagerDuty takes that enormous collection of real-time events from your systems and uses some of the noise reduction and machine learning capabilities within our platform, this will all help you to really focus in on what is really important and what is actionable for your teams. Now, from there, we can then start to automate certain steps. Perhaps there are diagnostics or remediation steps that can follow a runbook automatically. So we can add some of that automation in to ensure that we have taken some of those more repetitive steps or gathered additional data that might be useful before we even interrupt that human responder. Now, the human mobilization component is still a huge part of the PagerDuty platform, and that's what we will be focusing on primarily during our PagerDuty 101 sessions. Now, once those alerts come into PagerDuty, though, they're going to be assigned an urgency, they're going to be routed to the appropriate team, that's how we know who to actually contact, and there will be on-call schedules and rotations that are set up. Now, we will talk about setting up schedules and rotations in part 3 of our series, but I just wanted to mention them here in the overview. We also, in conjunction with the schedules, have something called an escalation path or an escalation policy that will ensure that if the first on-call responder is not available, we always have backup. There's always somebody else who is there to ensure that we can respond to these urgent incidents in a timely fashion. Now, all of these steps are really necessary to help us resolve incidents faster, which will then reduce the cost to the business and also hopefully the cost for our response teams, keeping our response teams happier overall. So I hope this gives you an idea visually of where PagerDuty sits in your digital workflow and that broader incident response process. So now I wanted to get into the second and main topic of today's session, which is responding to incidents. So in order to effectively manage incidents, we need to learn how we are going to be notified and in what way we could respond to maximize our effort with, of course, while minimizing the energy and time. Now, PagerDuty is really built to give individual users the power to choose how they are going to be notified in the way that best works for them. So you will learn the setup steps in session 2 for setting up your individual profiles. For today, I wanted to show you just some of the possible choices available to you and to establish some of that baseline vocabulary. So to begin with, one of the most important things you can possibly learn is that there are 3 incident states within the PagerDuty platform. The first state is the triggered state. So at this point, a problem has been identified and an incident has been created in PagerDuty and assigned to an individual person on call. Now, with a triggered state, no one has taken ownership of the incident yet. So we don't have anybody who has acknowledged the incident. That's going to be our next step. But there are notifications that have been sent. The users have been notified about this incident. We are asking them to respond to this critical, time-sensitive incident. You then have the acknowledged state, right? That's the next step I mentioned earlier. So you want to acknowledge an incident when you receive those notifications. And we do recommend acknowledging it as quickly as possible because once you receive those notifications and you acknowledge the incident, you will then stop any future notifications from going out, and you will also stop the escalation process. I mentioned escalation policies on that previous slide because we always want to have a backup person. You're never alone when you're on call. You have a team. But if you are planning to do the initial assessment, so you acknowledge the incident, we want to stop escalating the incident so you don't have to worry about it going to your backup person while you are trying to address this important issue. So you click that acknowledge button, or I'll talk to you a little bit about how you can acknowledge incidents in a couple ways. And you're letting everybody in the organization on your team know that you are working on this incident. You will have the ability to after you acknowledge the incident, you'll have the ability to assess the incident. And if necessary, you could reassign the incident to a different team or even escalate the incident to your backup person or your manager, depending on your permissions, if that is necessary. But as best practice, you always want to acknowledge the incident quickly so you can silence notifications and begin your assessment. The last stage of an incident, pretty self-explanatory. It's the resolved state. There is a resolve button that you see in the PagerDuty platform. You'll also hear about a couple other ways of resolving incidents in a moment. Now, resolving the incident is something that we want to do after we have ensured that not just we've deployed fixes, but we've ensured that the fixes are actually doing what we want them to do. They have solved the problem. After you click that resolve button, the incident is going to be closed and it cannot be reopened. So when it comes to notifications, if you're assigned to an incident, you will be notified in a few different ways, and you will get to set all these things up in your user profile, as we will talk about tomorrow. But again, to set the stage, I wanted to just mention the different channels. You can receive a phone call where it's very easy to get a quick description from PagerDuty about what's going on. And you'll have the ability to take action in the phone call itself. You can press 4 to acknowledge, 6 to resolve, or 8 to escalate that incident. You can also receive a text message or a text message or SMS. With the text message, again, there's a short description there. You also have a couple codes that will allow you to take action in the text thread. Just note that the codes for the text messages, those SMS messages, are going to change every single time we have a new incident. So just read those carefully to make sure you're taking the right actions. There are also push notifications available to you. Push notifications are going to be available when you download the PagerDuty mobile app. And once you've downloaded the mobile app, you'll just log in to PagerDuty using the exact same credentials you used for the web UI, whether that is using single sign-on or email and password. That will be determined, of course, at the account level. So once you have that, you will be able to respond to an incident like you would in the web UI, but you'll have it, of course, right at your fingertips, no matter where you are. And that way you can go grocery shopping, go to your kid's soccer game, whatever you need to do if you are still on call. And lastly, I wanted to mention email. This is the last notification type you will set up personally in your account. I did want to point out with email that this is what we call a more static notification type. You have the ability to see some good details in here, but you will need to click into the View Incident button or on any of the hyperlinks in the email in order to take further action. It will take you into the UI once you click on those buttons, and you'll be able to respond to the incident. You can't reply to the email in order to take action. So you can learn a lot more about these. We can talk about these in the future. I do recommend that you have at least one of these contact methods in each of your in your account, and just keep note that phone, SMS, push, those are the more dynamic notifications. They're usually the noisier notifications. So in general, we would recommend using those for high urgency incidents and keeping emails for perhaps a backup notification or low urgency incidents. I also am going to share a link in the chat with the PagerDuty V card, which allows you to save the PagerDuty notification phone numbers in your phone as a contact. So you would know it's PagerDuty contacting you and not just an unknown number. All right, there are a couple other things that I wanted to mention here. One of them is the chat ops tool. Now, I don't know how many of you use chat ops in with your teams, things like Slack or Microsoft Teams or Google Chat even. But we found at PagerDuty that our own teams were often communicating in those channels already. So instead of having to switch contexts to a different platform, to the PagerDuty platform specifically to respond to an incident, we decided to bring PagerDuty to that chat ops tool. So here's a quick visual of Slack. Microsoft Teams is pretty similar in that you could take action on the incident within the chat tool itself, within your team's channel, so that you don't have to leave the channel that you're already using. Google Chat is another option for you as well. Now, these are going to be integrations that are set up at either your team or your account level. So these are not things you individually would be responsible for if you're a responder, but I wanted you to be aware of those possibilities. All right, and then the last thing I wanted to talk about today is actually responding to an incident. So I'm going to move here into my PagerDuty account, and we're going to talk a little bit about how to respond to an incident and not just what you can do, but also what we might recommend to make it a little faster, a little easier for you. So right here, I have logged into my PagerDuty account and landed on what we call the incident dashboard. So this is going to show you all of the current open incidents, the active incidents. You have the ability to filter your view. So we could see triggered and acknowledged incidents. That's what we consider open, or resolved incidents, of course. And for right now, I'm going to just click into one of my existing incidents. So right now it's raining lemon drops. Let's go ahead and click on that incident title. It takes me into the incident detail page. Now, this is where we can see that nothing has been done to this incident. No one has taken ownership of the incident. I know that because the status is still triggered. I can see that Marcus is currently assigned to the incident based on this escalation policy. And I can also see that there is a pending action field down here. Now, this pending actions field says it's going to escalate at 10:22 a.m. in 7 minutes. Okay, so that indicates that there is a backup person in place. Marcus is not the last person who would be contacted about this incident. But first thing that I said is that we always want to acknowledge an incident. So if I've received notifications about this and I have decided I'm going to do the initial round of assessments, let me go ahead and acknowledge this button by clicking on this button over here on the left. So I clicked on that acknowledge button. I could have done it through the phone call, through my SMS, through my mobile app. In this case, I did it manually here in the web UI. Now, there are a few different steps that you might take as you're responding to an incident. You might have to escalate an incident, perhaps up the chain to your team manager. As I said earlier, if you don't have the right permissions to take action on this incident, occasionally you're going to have to escalate it. This is also very helpful to do if you're the first person on call, but you're in the midst of another problem. You're working on something else that's time sensitive. You can't drop everything to respond to this incident. You can go ahead and escalate it to your backup person if necessary. Or of course, you can increase that even to another level. And I could say, okay, Theo is one of my managers. I don't have the right permissions to respond to this problem. It's raining lemon drops. That's really outside of my usual purview. So I'm going to escalate it up to Theo. I have that capability. I can also reassign the incident. Now, reassigning the incident is going to be very useful if you need to reassign it to a different team. Now, it's raining lemon drops. That's something that the database team is being impacted by. But really, I think this is like a facilities kind of thing. They might have to help us with this whole lemon drops coming from the sky issue. So I can loop in, or I can rather reassign my incident to this alpha team facilities SF escalation policy. This will allow me to assign it to their on-call person. I don't have to figure out who is on call for their team. I just have to find their team's escalation policy. I do have the capability of also assigning an incident to an individual person. I wouldn't typically recommend that because that person might not be on call. They might not be expecting a notification. So in general, we do recommend using escalation policies wherever possible to reassign those incidents. Now I'm going to go ahead and click that reassign button so you can see what happens. You can see the status has gone into the triggered state. It looks like Luna is the person on call for this Alpha Team Facilities SF. It has now contacted her, and we'll talk about the notification rules and how she would be contacted tomorrow in session 2. But for right now, just know that Luna is being contacted using her contact notification methods, and we are waiting for her to acknowledge the incident and to take ownership. For today's session, though, I'm going to go ahead and acknowledge that incident again, take that ownership back, and show you just one more option right here. You can also add responders. So if I did not want to give up my ownership of this incident, but instead I said, okay, I am still being impacted by this. I need help from a couple other teams, though, like my facilities team, perhaps my communications liaison. I have the ability to add additional teams to contact their on-call person from these escalation policies and to let them know what is going on. So I need their help with It's Raining Lemon Drops. Please join the meeting URL below. And I can add a short note to send to them. I can add a conference bridge, a dial-in number, a meeting URL right below here, save, and now invitations have been sent out to my users. And I can see under requested responders that I have a communications liaison and that Alpha Team Facilities SF person, both of whom have been notified about this incident. Now, one thing to note, I have a little check mark next to my name right here under the responders box that tells me that I'm now engaged. I have accepted I have acknowledge this incident. I'm taking action here. Whereas Hermione and Luna here both have question marks next to their names, which indicate that they are pending. They have not yet accepted my request to join me for this incident. So that is one thing to take note of. And again, when you receive a notification from PagerDuty asking you to join this incident, if you're being added as an additional responder, you will be asked to accept or decline the request. All right, there are a few other pieces of information I want to point out. You have this tab that says status updates. Now, it could show us the impact of a business service, which will be a larger overarching area of the business. We will learn more about this in session number 4. You can add subscribers, who are going to be folks who are not actively responding to this incident, but might need to receive proactive updates from you. So you can manage your subscribers, and you could click on that button to add individual users or teams. So there is a drop down, or you could even just type in, let's say I wanted to add my customer support team. I can add them as subscribers. They will now proactively receive updates from me when I publish a status update. I just went back to the incident details page, clicked on the status updates tab again, and I said, okay, I have one team subscribed. I can now send a new update. Now, with this new update, there are templates that can be created by like a team manager. So if there are specific fields that you would need to employ, you could go ahead and put those into the template. I'm going to use this default template, quick preview. I can see the email template is already filled out, but there's no update that has been added yet. This update field is empty because I need to type out some kind of message. So a subscriber could receive a status update via SMS, push notification, or email. And there's also something called the status page in PagerDuty where you would publish this update. So let's say we are working on this sticky situation, update in 30 minutes, something like that. I'm giving a little bit of information to them, as much information as I can, so that in the case of our customer support team, they might need to respond to some customer questions that are coming in. So I want to give them the relevant information to let them know we are working on it and when they can expect another update. This will help to prevent interruptions. So hopefully you're not being inundated with questions from your internal teams while you are actually trying to solve the problem. So now I'm going to go ahead and send that update using the blue button down here in the bottom. That update has now been published. So I can see under my status updates tab, we're working on this sticky situation, this whole update that I wrote out. So I have manually published that. A couple other tabs here. There's something called the timeline tab. This is really useful if you want to see what order the actions occurred in, meaning who was contacted, in terms of our responders. Did they acknowledge the incident? Did it have to escalate? Did it get reassigned? Have they taken other steps like publishing updates here? Maybe they added a note over here on the right. This is something that you can do through your chat tools. This is also something you can publish here in the notes. We tried this solution. It did not work. So you could add information, add notes. So anybody who's coming into this incident can view this information and can keep track of what's going on. The timeline is particularly helpful when you're doing your post-mortem or post-incident review. So do keep that in mind, especially after you've resolved that incident. I also wanted to look at the past incidents tab. Now, this is going to show you a heat map. If you have past incidents on your account, you'll be able to see a heat map to tell you when and if you have seen similar incidents in this service. Now you can see here, it looks like I've had a few of these incidents in the last 6 months. All of them were really concentrated recently. We've been having some pretty bad weather, apparently. Gumdrops and lemon drops and raindrops, fish and cats, dogs here. We've been having a lot of interesting rain recently. So if I wanted to click in and view what actions were previously taken for this type of incident, if somebody else had worked on this incident, I could reach out to them and ask them questions as well. But it's just nice to quickly and easily be able to surface any incidents that might help me resolve this current incident. Lastly, we have something called related incidents. This is open. This would show you any any incidents that were open in the account across other services. So not just your own technical service, but across other teams and their technical services, to tell you if there were any open incidents that we thought were related to what you were working on, so you can more easily collaborate and communicate with those team members. All right, so that's a lot of information there. I've done my assessment of my incident. I also have this priority tab here. You will have your own priority settings in your account. I have P1 through P5 set up in this account. You might have Sev1 through Sev5. You might be using emojis. You might have, 1 fire to 5 fire emojis. Whatever it is that you have, these priorities are here to help indicate to anyone across the account the impact of your incident. So as I'm doing my assessment, it's raining lemon drops. This is actually becoming a big problem because it's affecting a number of our customers, which is perhaps the definition that I have for a P1. So I can add that priority level right here to my incident. And then I could go ahead and take the steps necessary. I could go find my run book in the wiki page that we have internally to tell me, okay, exactly which steps I'm supposed to take when there's a P1. Or a really wonderful thing that I wanted to leave you with is this button here. You will see run a play if you have response plays enabled on your account. Our new and updated version of response plays is called instant workflows. This is going to be even more dynamic. These are going to allow you to automate some of these manual actions I've shown you. So let's say that I want to run my workflow. I have a few workflows that a team manager or a global admin could create in the non-emergency time when we're not responding to an incident. And I could say, great, facilities, P1 response. Go ahead, let's run that one. It's a P1, we're having some facilities issues. I don't need to think about what steps need to occur for this type of situation. I can just concentrate on actually figuring out what the problem is. So a conference URL has been added here. I have some additional users who have been looped in to help me solve this problem. If I look at my status updates tab, I can see the business service here is showing up. I have 3 teams who are now subscribed, and a status update was automatically added here. These are just a few example actions that could take place with an incident workflow that I wanted you to see in action. All of these steps, though, all of this automation, all of these different options here, these communication aspects are really meant to allow us to resolve the incident as quickly as possible. Now, as Sean has noticed, we have a pretty magical group of folks here, and hopefully they're able to quickly and easily solve these problems. So if it's raining lemon drops, there's probably something that they can do to help reverse that. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this resolve button. This is what we are aiming for. This is what we want to do as quickly as possible to reduce the impact on our team and on our business. And I can go ahead and publish that resolution note. I could add something additional if I needed to. I'm going to click resolve incident. And here we go. We've gotten through that incident. You can see there's a post-mortem option for you if you are using the PagerDuty postmortems. And you can, of course, take any of this information, including that timeline information, those notes, those status updates, and use them in your postmortem, in your post-incident learning. All right, so that is part 1 of our PagerDuty 101 series. I wanted to say a huge thank you to all of you for taking the time to join us today. If you have to drop off, I totally understand. But I did also want to just put a few resources into the chat as well, including who you can contact, where you can go for different pieces, and a PagerDuty 101 survey. We always want to know what you thought of this session, especially because it is a new series that we are launching. So please give me your feedback. I would love to know what we can improve, what you'd like to see next. We have some great resources available to you. And quickly, just an overview of what the next few days are going to bring with it. Tuesday, tomorrow, we're going to look at adding users and setting up your user profile. Wednesday, part 3, we're going to look at setting up schedules and escalation policies. And then part 4 on Thursday is setting up your services and integrations. Now, if you want to do any of this learning asynchronously, You are welcome to also visit our university.pagerduty.com PDU portal. But I hope I will see you tomorrow. And if you have any further questions, please let me know if you need anything else. And it looks like the survey link might not have worked for somebody. Let me see if I can confirm that, or of course, let's see. Okay, it looks like it's working for me. Let's go back. I don't know if the QR code is going to be better for you. We will have links, of course, and surveys on the other sessions. So if you need future survey sessions and those links, let me know. Thanks everybody for letting me know that it maybe worked for you. It just took some time. And we do recommend downloading that PagerDuty mobile app on your phone today. It is an extremely powerful tool. I have been told that it is really the biggest difference for people who are on call because they have just a little more freedom. They don't feel like they're tethered to their computer at their desk quite as much, but instead that they can quickly and easily respond no matter where they are, within reason, of course. Maybe don't go up the mountain if you're going to have to respond to an incident in the near future. Okay, with that, thank you so much, everyone. I am going to, I hope I see you tomorrow. We'll talk further about setting up our user profiles and also just adding users in general and why we'd want to do that, how we would do it. You are not at all required to download that PagerDuty mobile app. But it is something that can be very useful for any folks who might be on call or who might need to see what's going on in the account, even if you're just assessing. Thank you so much for letting me know that the QR code is not working or is wrong. I will make sure we update that. Thank you, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and I hope we see you tomorrow.